Hey everyone, Yoko Kelly. I want to talk to you today about something that took me years to master during my 20-year career as a designer. And we're talking about how to look at a runway show, spot and analyze trends that matter for you and your customers. So before I dive in, I want to say up front that runway shows are just one of many places to find inspiration. If you've been following my reels on Instagram or TikTok, you know I've pulled ideas from everywhere. Movies, art, street fashion, political events, celebrities, architecture, you name it. The technique I'm about to teach you works for any inspiration source, so think of it as a thought process rather than, exactly what I'm teaching you. So I'm starting with runway shows because honestly, it's low-hanging fruit. It's the obvious choice for a young designer to find inspiration. The runway designer has already done the heavy lifting. They've been inspired by something and interpreted it into a collection that you're viewing. So your job is to recognize that inspiration and decide if it's something you want to use for your own work. So if you're an associate designer or you just graduated and you're not running your own collection yet, practice this exercise like you are designing your own line, because when you land your first designer position, you want to have this process already honed and like second nature. So let me tell you how different things were when I started. Back then, we didn't have Instagram or immediate access to runway images. We had to wait for a magazine called Collezioni to come out. The cost was a couple $100 and usually arrived a couple months after the shows, and it was divided by country normally. So we could buy that Collezioni or a photo pack from photographers who would come immediately after, like the week after the runway shows. And the picture packs were like around $500 each, which is a round-trip ticket back then, economy, to Europe. So it was serious money. So as a designer, I had to be absolutely sure that the return would justify the photo pack purchase. And here's the kicker. When you viewed them, you could only view the packs in a confined room with a sales rep breathing down your neck, and you couldn't take it outside for obvious reasons. There were no phones or pens and papers inside allowed. So I had to develop really good memory skills and techniques for processing those thousands of photos I was viewing in an hour or two. And it wasn't like everything was available at once. New York Market Week, Paris, London, Milan, they all happened and were staggered, right? So if I saw something this week that moved me, I had to be decisive and use speed to market, execute a collection as my competitive edge. So I was a lead designer in juniors fast fashion for over 12 years, and that category is very, very volatile, where trends are in and out quickly. So what I'm about to teach you came from that environment, that pressure cooker environment. So it's real, on the job, hard-won knowledge, okay? All right, so let's just dive into the process now. So when I'm viewing a runway collection, my first pass is like I'm going to the movies. It's for pure pleasure. I'm not working. Only my subconscious is engaged. And what that gives you is an emotional freedom and genuine gut response to what you're viewing. So if you get that feeling of excitement, and you'll know what I mean after you have your first view, the last model walks by or you see the last image, then and only then you take a second look. And this time really dig into what moves you to look again. Was it the color, a trim, a new fabric, silhouette, a print, a theme? Then here comes the crucial part. Okay, you analyze whether or not you can interpret that inspiration for your ultimate consumer. Sometimes your ideas just aren't appropriate. For instance, if your inspiration from Ralph Lauren was the newness of a yarn-dyed plaid, if it was the new colors or the way it was woven, how are you going to sell those items to your consumers in the Southwest? Okay, how will you differentiate your collection from the specialty retailers such as Boot Barn or Sheplers in the Southwest, right? It's going to be difficult. Now, if it's a trend that I was seriously considering, I would go and look at Boot Barn or Sheplers and see what fabrics won't be offered in those stores for price or whatever reason. So for instance, what about printing a faux yarn dye plaid on velvet or on a lace? What about using a bespoke trim like buttons on your plaid shirts? Okay, these are just first top of mind, but you get the idea of where I'm going with this. You have to think out of the box if you're gonna use something like that. Now, if you feel like you can make a statement, whether it's a full collection or a line of items, then quickly sketch a thumbnail of your idea. This is very important. When you have an emotional connection to the sketch, the concept should flow directly from your head to heart to paper. And later when you revisit it, you'll remember that emotion and you'll be able to execute a collection that truly reflects your initial inspiration. If you can't get a thumbnail down that you feel is right, you may not have found your next concept. Be okay with letting it go, but don't throw the sketch out because you'll want to make a note on it and file it away. Oftentimes, designers from different houses or different countries will address that same cultural influence or political event. And when you see another interpretation of that later, you might sketch something that has that juice, and then you go back to the earlier thumbnail for a second garment or outfit in your collection. Now, this technique works great when you have time to review what you saw. But what if you're out in the world and you can't take a photo of that inspiration moment, or you're not remembering as well as you used to? Like you see an amazing flamenco dance driving by a park somewhere, right? So you want to be analog ready. Always have a sketch pad and pen with you. I used to sleep with a sketch pad next to my bed, true story, in case I dreamt something fabulous. Now I'm serious about this. Inspiration doesn't wait for convenient moments. So the key to developing your eye and that instinct and for what moves you and translate it to the market is a skill. It takes practice, but once you have it, it becomes second nature. Okay? It's a process that I used for many, many years that served me throughout my entire career. And I know it will work for you too. So start practicing today, even if you're not designing your own collection yet. Okay, and trust me on this one. If you have questions, DM me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.